Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome to the Fuel Your Legacy show, and we're happy to have you here today. We're going to be talking about our book review on Psycho-Cybernetics. This book changed the way I view masterminds, and I'm excited to bring that information to you and share you kind of what I got out of it and then how it can benefit you. I'm only going to be able to touch a small part on it. I think it's an 8-hour-long book, so I'm going to do my best to sum that up in 30 minutes. And then you guys are going to have to go get the book and really grow from there. I want to make you aware of just a few things. One, if you'd like to comment, take a screenshot and share this, tag me in it, tag any of my guests in it when you're listening to the guest podcast, then I will give you a shout out on the next podcast episode. So that's an added benefit for those of you who want to participate in that. Also, feel free to go and leave reviews on Facebook or Instagram, or you can also go to the actual websites on Stitcher or Apple to leave a review for Fuel Your Legacy and just share what you got out of this show and how it's been able to help you or guide you in your life and kind of what we've been able to help you with there. Lastly, on May 11th, we are going to be doing a next generation legacy wealth workshop here in South Jordan, or Sandy, Utah. And that's going to be an all-day event on the May 11th, which is a Saturday. We're going to deep dive into the mindset, the habits, the mindsets and behaviors of wealth and how to actually accumulate the things that you want, how to gain that lifestyle that you've been dreaming of, and how to achieve the peace and the self-confidence of actually becoming what you want. And I know a lot of people, when I talk to them and I ask them across the table when I'm interviewing them as business partners, or when I'm working with them as clients, a lot of people, the main concern is they've lived a certain amount of life and they haven't received the fulfillment that they thought they were going to get out of their career. They're now 10, 15 years into their career thinking, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my time? Why am I missing out on my family's life? And if that's you, just know there's a way to make meaning out of everything you've done. There's a way to gain peace and security and confidence moving forward. And you don't have to be stuck in the dark. You can actually achieve happiness and achieve growth through understanding the rules of money, understanding how to apply them, and then you'll actually be safer and more secure in your own ability to produce income. And then we're also going to help people understand how to take those skills and then turn those skills into a meaningful legacy. And there's a very real rule just in business, and there's nothing wrong with this. I do the same thing with my employees. I'm not condemning anybody, but you definitely are just going to pay somebody enough not to quit, because if you can, why wouldn't you? And the downside is that's where you're at. If you're an employee, you're being paid just enough not to quit. And so how can we take those skills that you've learned as an employee or as a professional working in your industry, how can we take the skills and go and market them individually on a side hustle and actually turn your skills that you've developed into a career that's going to give you a legacy of meaning, and one that's going to last and really be there to be there for your family. So that is the first thing that I want to just really make you aware of. Also, in the links and show notes here, we are going to have a link to purchase Psycho-Cybernetics. If you're interested in that, you can go to Amazon and buy that book. It definitely changed the way I view masterminds in general, and more specifically the visualization process. And you may have heard in past, a lot of people talk about masterminds and they'll talk about how to visualize and how to actually accomplish these things. And they're generally going to be quoting his name, Napoleon Hill, and talking about a lot of things that he did. Maybe they're going to talk about a little bit of Wayne Dyer, maybe a little bit of Bob Proctor. But what I found is that Psycho-Cybernetics, it really takes the approach of something just completely different. It helps you reframe and put into a positive perspective the negative feedback we get in our life. We all get negative feedback in our life on a regular basis. And rather than looking at it as this negative feedback, it's still negative, but we can actually learn from it and grow from every minute of that. So one of the examples he uses over and over and over in the book is like a guided missile. Okay, so if you're shooting a missile and you want to get to a target, they have the target program, and then anytime it gets off course, it says, oh, you're off course, and it it has negative feedback saying you're not in the direction of where you want to go, and so it puts it back into the direction it wants to go. Same with a lot like an airplane. Airplanes do the same thing, and the airplane really gets to its destination by making thousands, if not millions, of small corrections of degrees to make sure it ends up in the right spot. Because if you're going from London to Salt Lake City, Utah, and you're just 1 degree off, you're going to end up in an entirely different place. And so it's so important to be constantly making corrections. Unfortunately, we've branded these negative feedbacks in our life as these bad things, as these terrible things. We should never experience this negative feedback. And he makes a good point here, and I've made this point in the past. The negative feedback is really where we get to learn and grow and become more. And so I would definitely think that it's important for you to understand negative feedback and then learn how to use it in your favor. So he has a really unique acronym, I guess you could say. So he takes the word failure and he turned it into, I don't think it's an acronym. Basically, every letter means something of the word. So failure, the F is for frustrating. You know, if you're getting frustrated about something, that's a good negative feedback indicator saying, hey, you're in the wrong direction. You're not going towards what you want. You should be moving back towards an alignment. Even if something's hard, you're not going to get frustrated if you feel like there's an end goal and it's and it's for your end goal. So that is one thing. The other one, A, is aggravating. Aggravating. I is for insecurity. L is for lonely. U is for uncertainty. R is for resentment, and E is for emptiness. So if you're experiencing any of those emotions, then those are all negative feedback indicators to help you guide yourself to happiness. And so if we're just looking at all these and then we're getting even more upset that we're experiencing these, that's what I don't get. When in my life, when I experience these things, I don't get upset about it. Other people around me, they get upset, they get frustrated, and they just kind of wallow in that. And for me, when I experience those things, I think, wow, this is really awesome. How can I improve? Where is it that I'm going wrong? What is it that I'm doing wrong? And where can I get closer to my objective and my goal? And that is a skill that is it's a behavior. It's something that's conscious, at least initially, before it becomes a habit. We've got to get in the mindset of saying, okay, I really want this to be the case. I really want to accomplish my goal. Thus, I'm going to practice the behavior of reframing things and using this negative feedback to get to where I want to in an effort to create a habit so that it becomes more natural. It becomes something that you're naturally reframing things. You're naturally overcoming these feelings of insecurity. So that is one thing that is really very, very specific that I think everybody can use a lot of. And then a lot of the book as well, he goes into separating facts from opinions. So and he uses a lot of examples, but there's a difference between myself and my behavior as well. So the facts versus opinions. If I get in a car accident, does that mean I'm a bad driver, or in that moment my driving was not good, right? So recognize the difference. I am not anything, right? I am what I decide I am, but my actions may be something different. And so learning to separate the facts from the opinions. Well, I didn't make very good food tonight, so I sucked at making dinner tonight. And so as a result of that, I'm going to say I'm not a good cook. Well, that's an opinion that you're not a good cook. The fact is the food you made didn't taste good, right? So there's two different things. And when we start to label the facts and get out of the opinions, then we're actually able to be a lot more objective and way, 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 way happier, because now we don't have all this self-judgment, this shame, all this stuff that's going on inside of ourselves, because it doesn't even matter. It's just like, oh, in this moment, this didn't work out that well, but that doesn't mean that's who I am, right? I am are two of the most powerful words in the English language. And so learning how to use those for your betterment rather than for your detriment is very, very important and needed. So that is something that we wanted to talk about here, is the separation between yourself and your behavior, or the facts and opinions. A lot of people have opinions, but they may not be dealing in the facts. So dealing in the facts, that's important, at least to get to a base level of like, what are the facts? Once you identify the facts, then you can start saying, okay, well, what are the opinions that other people have, and should I accept them? Should I reject them? And you can actually analyze the opinions, but until you understand the facts, you can't even analyze the opinions until you learn how to separate those. Also, Another way cool thing, and this goes into, I've talked about this a little bit in the last few videos, but when we're talking about visualization, when we're talking about how we actually are going to become and really focus on what we want, clarity is important. Well, one of the things, the studies that they did for this book was to understand how people visualize things, and when they're visualizing different experiences, how do they perform afterwards, right? And so when we visualize us being successful, then we actually accomplish a lot. And he uses an example of success. He says, well, a lot of people disagree that they're even successful. They'll pretend like they weren't actually successful. They're just like, no, I wasn't even successful because it was somebody else's dream, or something else happened, or somebody else made me do it, or whatever. So it wasn't your success. And so he says, okay, well, what's that most happy moment that you've ever had? Maybe it's like hitting a home run. So these proud moments of yours, if you replay those proud moments in your mind, that's when you're going to have the greatest epiphany of like, wow, I can do this. And when you have that feeling, that changes your entire state inside of you, and now you're actually able to go out and serve those around you. And so learning how to put yourself in that state, he suggests writing down a whole list of all of your successful moments, and then read them to yourself before you go into a big close, before you go and try and talk to your spouse, before you go and try and educate or parent your child, right? Think about all the times you were successful, and it puts you into a successful state. And then when you're going in, you're going with the expectation and the intention of being successful. And that's just really, really helpful. And so write down a list of all the past successes you've had, all the happy moments, all the things that you were proud about, and do your best to read those before every time you're going in to have an interaction with somebody that is going to be important, and the outcome's important, and you need to get your opinion across. Okay, so that is one huge thing that he mentioned. The other really, I love this because I totally believe it. He uses the word hypnotized. I would use the word brainwashed, whatever. Everybody in the world is either hypnotized or brainwashed. And he says hypnosis, when you get on the stage with a hypnotist, more of what they're doing is de-hypnotizing you than hypnotizing you. They're allowing you to suspend belief of all the things you used to believe, and they're saying, hey, we're not going to believe any of those things. We're going to bring down our belief in those things because all of who we are and how we act and all of that, that's all based on how we perceive others wanting us to act. And so we've been hypnotized by society saying this is how you should act. And so we are acting that way. Well, a hypnotist just removes that self-judgment. They remove that the need to act the way society tells us to act. And then from that, we're able to act however we want, however we naturally would. And that is the key, is the suspending of care about what other people think or think we should be doing. So it's really, when you're hypnotizing yourself, you're actually de-hypnotizing yourself from all the negative beliefs, the things that aren't serving you, and then you're going to insert beliefs that actually help you. And that's really when we get into the identifying the identity portion of what I share with people. When you're identifying that identity, then you have to eliminate all the crap that's not part of your identity, all the things that people have told you that are not true about you, that you don't really identify with. Once you remove all of that and you really know who you are, then it's a matter of, okay, we have the mindset there, the behaviors. When we constantly are keeping commitments to ourselves, when we're constantly doing behaviors over and over and over and doing that, then what we do is we gain the confidence to actually go and create our legacy. And that's the key. And so it's so important to be able to remove all the negative opinions of your past, and then insert the behaviors and the new beliefs that you want, and create confidence in your identity. Build up, fortify that identity. That way, when you go out to create your legacy, when you go out to build a constant habit, then you're actually going to have a habit that you're proud of and is in alignment with who you believe that you are. So super important and very valuable. Now, the next thing is that addiction. And this is something that's close to my heart because I struggled with different things that I felt like I was addicted to. Society told me, oh, Sam, you're addicted to this thing. You've got this issue and you should go get help for it. You should go to a therapist. You should do these different things. And what I learned was that addiction, there's a very big difference between addictions and habits. Okay. And unfortunately, they're construed a lot, and then as a result of that, people often are going to have a feeling of when they have these feelings of addiction, then they end up self-shaming themselves and taking on the identity of an addict. And once you take on the identity of an addict, then it's really hard to break free from that addiction. You actually do become addicted because you start to think that you're addicted. Most people, they just have habits. They have habits of the way that they deal with stress. And when you have a habit of dealing with stress a certain way, one, if you don't like the habit and you don't feel like it's serving you, then change the habit. But two, when you recognize that it's a habit, it's a lot more serving to you because you can change a habit. I know how to change a habit. You change a habit by changing the behavior, by changing the identity. And so it's a lot easier to change a habit than it is to change an addiction because you have to deal with the identity portion of it. And so what he says is an addiction is when you have a longing for it. You can't get your mind off of it. And this is not just him. This is psychologically true. When you have this longing for it and you can't avoid something, you can't live without it, that's when you truly have an addiction to something. When you simply are reacting to a circumstance and your natural reaction is smoking when you're stressed. Your natural reaction is pornography when you're stressed. Your natural reaction is getting angry and yelling at somebody. Your natural reaction is shutting down and watching Netflix. Whatever it is, whatever your natural reaction is to stress, that's a habitual natural reaction. It's not, well, I wouldn't even say it's natural. That's a habitual reaction to stress. It is not an addiction. And so we have to be clear about what an addiction is and what a habit is, because when you separate them, it removes all the shame and actually enables you to put forth positive energy to changing it rather than taking on an identity that you don't actually enjoy. And so that's, if you get nothing else, that is one key that I would say, focus on the difference between addiction and habit and be clear about what one you have in your life in whatever circumstance. Maybe it's you like to text while you're driving. Maybe it's that you like to watch Netflix way too much. Maybe it's that you eat unhealthy food when you are stressed out. Whatever it is, those are all habits and we need to change those habits. An addiction is when you actually cannot stop thinking about it. You can't function without performing these behaviors. And that is when I would consider that an addiction, and that's where there's potential for needing help. I don't know that I would go to a therapist. I've been to therapists. I think they're great for certain purposes. I think often addictions, they lie in the root cause of identity. We don't think we're worth it. We want to cover up something up from our past. And so we form these addictions and we use this addiction, this longing for, this need for something as a way to silence or calm our insecurity in our identity. So if you want to heal an addiction, you got to change your identity. If you want to change a habit, you need to focus on behaviors. So just different areas of where you're going to go to deal with different things. So that's something that I got out of this that just really, really resonated with me, and I helps a lot. And then also, and this is going to be the final point that I make here, but one of the crowning things in the book is learning to live in the moment. We all struggle, or I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people, they struggle to live in the moment. They struggle to be present every day with their family, with their kids, with their business, with their work. And being present is so important. In fact, in The Greatest Salesman in the World, in one of the scrolls, it says you actually need to divorce your family when you're at work and divorce your work when you're with your family, right? And he uses the word divorce because he wants you to separate the times. He wants you to compartmentalize so you can be fully effective at that one area of your life. And then when you go to the next area of your life, you can be fully effective there as well. And so learning to live life in compartmentalization helps you release the worries from the stress of the past, replaying all the failures and the things that you didn't learn from. And then the future, all the anxiety that comes from worrying about what might happen in the future, you release all that and you're actually able to be present. Learning to be present is one of the greatest gifts that you could ever be or become in your life, is being present, not just for yourself, although it is extreme. I think it's an extremely selfish goal of being present, just because I know what it's done for me in my life, the peace, the confidence, the joy that's come into my life as I've become present. But also, for other people, they can get a lot of value from you learning to be present and serving them and showing up fully for them in the moment. And it helps you build stronger relationships and stronger bonds with those around you. So again, this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, I barely scratched the surface. This book is way, way too good to put down into 20 minutes, but that's what we've got to do, or it's like 15 actually. But for you guys who are listening to this, think, what would give me the greatest impact in my life right now? If I learned how to visualize everything that I knew how to do, what would give me the greatest impact? And Once you identify what that is, then let's take a minute and go through this book, maybe read it or listen to it on Audible, whatever you do best, and find out how you can start shifting some of those behaviors that are not serving you in your life to some more behaviors that actually are going to serve you and bless your life fully. So that is all for today as far as the book review. I love it. I highly recommend it to everybody who likes to read or listen to books or become educated. Lastly, I would say that, just want to give you a quick reminder again of our Next Generation Legacy Wealth Workshop that's happening in May on the 11th here in Sandy, Utah. If you're in and around here, I'd love to be able to extend that out to you. You can catch there's going to be lots of stuff on my Facebook, my Instagram, and then also if you'd like to go to my website, samknickerbocker.com, and then you can always just reach out to me in any form of direct message, or go to info@samknickerbocker.com and email that, and then we'll be able to get you the information for you to be able to attend that and get registered for that event. But it's going to be life-changing. And then again, take a screenshot of this and post it on social media, tag me and maybe some of your friends in it who you think could benefit from this message today, and we'll go and change the world together. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.